Hello, today we're going to review part one of two parts for chapter one in our business intelligence book. And this is just an overview of business intelligence, analytics, and data science. So if you look in our textbook in chapter one, there's a large discussion about several small stories, or they call them vignettes, dealing with sports analytics. Now, sports analytics has grown in the number of years, and it's very tangible, especially for those that are learning about analytics, because sports ends up becoming an area that a lot of people are familiar with. They either watch some type of athletic event on TV or online, and we end up spending a lot of attention and a lot of time to athletic events. And of course, the people inside the athletics or the sporting events industry spend a lot of time analyzing players, taking a look at what's going on, and try to get an idea about how they can improve the performance of the teams. So, arguably, there's $145 billion in revenue that is generated by sports. Of course, there's gambling, legal and illegal, that creates some money. And this brings up a story that is very common in analytics classes, and it was even mentioned in our textbook, but it's about the story of the Oakland Athletics. There's a movie based on a book called Moneyball. It starred Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. And you can click on this link right here and go watch a brief moment of the video that kind of shows where Brad Pitt starts to take a look at numbers and the analytics of players more than the I guess qualitative soft features of players. And he has a discussion with his scouts and who he should pick, and it's a very interesting moment in the movie. And if that little amount interests you, I do recommend watching the whole movie. It's a pretty good movie. But analytics is used in many facets of sports. For example, there's a story in our book talks about the front office, how they're looking at ways of being able to increase the number of renewals for season ticket holders. So they have 5 tiers of season ticket holders. So top tier is the one who spend the most, and the bottom tier is the one probably for the cheaper season tickets. Something maybe that would be closer to the end of the field, 10-yard line, that kind of nature. And they asked all these tiers of people, what is the likeliness that they would buy season tickets again next year? And they were able to evaluate it and get a number of surveyors to be able to answer that question. Now, after they've gone forward and asked that question, the analyst went ahead and colored in green for the people that did renew their tickets. The blue was a mix of some and others who did end up buying, and maybe less that did buy. And of course, the pink area on the far right are the people that definitely did not buy new tickets. And when he started comparing the heat map that's illustrated here with the actual numbers, here we can see that there's 2 degrees of what is going to make people's minds up, or at least a relationship as to whether they will or will not buy tickets. So most likely if they're in the lower tier, or they actually voice some kind of dislike of some type, these people are definitely not going to buy tickets. So if you're marketing, maybe these are the people that you market to, so that way we can shift them into one of the blue or the green categories, so that way they will definitely buy season tickets. So this is one way that analytics has been used in sports. Also, looking at dynamic pricing models. Now, if you've taken statistics before, you may have some familiarity with regression models. And you know that regression models take into account different factors that end up increasing the amount of revenue, or for example, inside an organization. And so another example is the individuals inside the business office had looked at all the different types of factors, including home team performance, which opponents they brought in, the start of the game, what time of the season the game was, and so on and so forth. All of these ended up becoming factors that were put into a regression model in order to be able to determine what was going to be able to improve their attendance, and therefore they can adjust some pricing models. So if there was a situation that occurred that would lower the likeliness people would show up, maybe they would give a bigger discount on prices, so that way they would increase the chance that fans would show up in the stands. Also, if in football, there's some tools called decision trees, where a coach can use a basic decision tree as to whether they're going to or what kind of plays that they should be doing. So, for example, they may start with 540 plays with roughly half and half of them between running and passing plays. And if numbers 12, 21, 30, 32 are on the field, then they have a 79% chance of running a play, and they have 150 plays to choose from. On the other hand, if 10, 11, 20, or 22 is on the field, then they have a 66% chance of being successful with a passing play. And of course, the decision tree goes on and stems from there. And this helps coaches make decisions based on the conditions of the game in order to be able to decide whether they should pass or whether they should run and which plays they should be considering. Also, the same goes to apply with certain offense and defensive strategies. This is an example of a heat map where a coach was able to validate with different offenses or different offense configurations what their success rate would be for passing plays, and then also where the receiver was in receiving the ball and what success rate they have at those locations. And then on the last end was like what type of defense were they playing against in order to be successful. So tools like this can be used in sports analytics to be able to help coaches be successful on the field. So business is a lot like sports analytics. There's a lot of changes going on, and with analytics, there are a variety of things that change. So we have changes in hardware, we have the changes of the data, we have the change of the knowledge that's in the organization, and knowledge management is a huge deal because it's the people in the organization that really make the changes of what's going on. Communication, support, etc. And so with all of these changing dynamic needs, there is always a need for more analytics and assistance to help organizations make decisions. Now, decision support has actually been around for a while. It's been around as way back in the 60s, in fact. So you can see in this figure 1.8 the evolution of decision support, business intelligence, and analytics. And if you really take a look at this, it's really interesting. In the 90s is really where we started looking at dashboards and data warehouses. And then 2000s is when we started looking at text mining and cloud computing. And we know that these types of tools are available today. It's starting to become really big. And the 2010, we're looking at big data analytics, in-memory processing, in database processing, and also social network analysis. So there's a lot of areas that where decision support is starting to grow. All right, so I'm going to pause here and I'll continue the rest of this presentation in the next video.